Hey guys, it's Mila again and welcome to my channel. So this is a video that I wanted to make for a long time, but because I was going away for college and all of that, I didn't exactly have the time to film it. But what I wanted to discuss is the controversy surrounding Carve by Veronica Roth and whether or not it was racist and ableism, because as we all pretty much know, there's been quite a great deal of discussion about this book. And I read it because I wanted to see what the deal was, so now I'm going to talk about it. So basically what happened with Carve, for those of you who don't know, I think it was in December when an article was posted by the young adult author Justina Ireland, where she described how Carve, this trope of the dark skinned aggressor, which is basically like this trope in which you have like a bunch of savage people that have dark skin versus the more peaceful and civilized white skinned people. So I remember that when I heard that, I was really disappointed. I wasn't a huge fan of the Divergent series, but I had enjoyed it, and I was curious to see what other thing Veronica Roth was going to do. So when I heard that this book had this problematic issue, I wasn't really going to read it. Then I think that when more arcs started to show up, I began reading different reviews that said that actually the book wasn't racist at all. There were different peoples with different opinions, and that was really confusing for me, because it wasn't like maybe just opinions, but actually they were discussing about things in the book. They were discussing the facts. There were some people who said that the savages were dark skin and the peaceful ones were white, and then there were other reviews that said that actually the savage people were white and the peaceful ones were dark skin. And that was just like really confusing, because you see those things when you still don't have a copy of the book, and you see how other people are agreeing with them. So it's like, I mean, is it racist? Is it not? Then there were other people that said that actually the book had both people were mixed race. So you just didn't know what to think. I didn't know what. I remember that I had the chance to read an ebook copy thanks to my library. So I was like, I don't know if I should read this or if I shouldn't. And in the end, of course, I ended up reading it. And in case you're curious, I'm leaving the link for my review down below, because it's a really long review in which I explain pretty much everything in like great detail. But I wanted to also make this video for like BookTube for my channel, and for those people who don't feel like reading like a 4,000 words long review by me. So this is it. So basically what I want to go is just like go straight to the point. Is this book racist or not? And what we get to see at the beginning of the story is that you have Sira, who is the main character. She belongs to this race of like savage people, and she has dark skin, same as her mother. Then you have Akos, who is also the boy main character, who comes from the peaceful people, and he has white skin, same as his mother. So at the first thing you see, it really looks like you have the aggressive dark trope and the like really peaceful and civilized white people. But then you go and you read about the other characters, and you start to understand why there were people who were saying that actually both people were mixed race. Because actually Sira's brother, the savage one, has white skin. And the same happens with Ako's family. He has white skin, but his brother, his sister, and his father are all dark skin. So that's when you think, oh, okay, so maybe like the first article was wrong and it wasn't actually racist, because both people had all kinds of different skin color. I mean, they were all mixed race. But then is when you start reading in the book that you see more about the story, and you see where Justina Ireland was coming from. Basically, what we learn is this. Shotet, who are basically the savage people, they worship the current, who is like this sort of force like in Star Wars, and so they follow it through the universe. Wherever it goes, they go, and so they go to different planets and recycle their garbage, because this is what they do, this is their mission in life, this is what they believe in. So back years before this book started, we see how these people were actually really peaceful, and they were traveling to different planets. They did never settle down because they were nomads. This is again what they believe in. And then they arrive to a planet that is empty, and then the current favors. So because it's surrounded by the current, they go and they settle there, but because they don't want to leave behind their nomad roots, they leave their children, and so they go on their scavenge and but then apparently there were a couple of people that are the toughts, or I don't really know the pronunciation for the book. There wasn't a pronunciation guide, so I'm going to butcher those names, I'm sorry. But we have the toughts, who are later on in the story known as the peaceful white people, and they settle up in the north. So one day they are traveling in the planet and they go too far down and they find the shotted children that were left behind by their parents so they could go on scavenges. And so what these people do is they kidnap those children, they make them slaves, and they take them back with them. So basically what we have at the beginning is the white colonizers up north and the dark, peaceful people in the south. So the white people are in the north, they travel far down, they find the dark-skinned people and they go, oh look, children, and they steal them. So what happens then is how we get to see these sort of things about mixed race. But it isn't exactly so, because when you start to read the book, you realize that although you have a few characters with different skin color, the great majority is this. You have the two best, the peaceful people, the civilized one, seen as all majorly white people except for Akko's family, because apparently he has some shotted blood thanks to his father. And then you have Sirasai, the Shotet, mostly all dark-skinned people, except for the very few who are white-skinned, who are descendants of those children who were taken and raped by the now peaceful toughts. But mostly you have the peaceful ones and the savage one. And it is impossible to ignore the fact that the savage ones are black and the peaceful ones are white. And this is not only just in the people, but it is also something that the author constructs, this like sort of idea based on color, also in their landscape, and in all of that, in that culture. How even though the toughts are actually colonizers who stole the Shotet, they now have absolutely no memory of that. They don't know why it is that the black people are attacking them, so they see them as savages. And we see how Roth actually treats their culture as the more civilized one, because we see how their people is described as peaceful, civilized, and loving. This is something very important because they are like this sort of like really peaceful people, and we see the contrast with the place that they live in, with the snow, the calmness, the religious rites that are really similar to Christianity and Catholicism. And then we have the Shotet, who were the people that were enslaved and then they were taken by the white guys. And we see how after they had their children taken from them, they became warriors, so they will never be stolen from again. In the Veronica Rost does with them, she treats them as savage. Every time that we see them, their skin, their armor, their land, we are constantly seeing how it is dark, and how, because being dark is terrifying, it's bad. We see constantly this contrast, especially when we see it from Akos, how he sees these like really dark-skinned people with their dark armors and how terrifying they are, how grotesque it is, how especially harsh the language sounds. So we have constantly this comparison between the dark-skinned people and their brutality, their anger, their violence, and then we have the toughts, who are white, who are peaceful, who are like really refined and loving. And this is a contrast that we really can't escape from in the book because it is constantly shown. And even though there are a few people who don't respond to this norm of like totally dark, totally white, it is impossible to ignore, especially because now we know that this kind of like mixed race come from the fact that the people were colonized. And so we have a few little things, but the great majority is white is good and dark is bad. And this is something that the book constantly mentions and that again we just can't ignore. And that is something that I really didn't like, because I thought it was a really cheap way always to use like a skin color to create this difference between like really good people and really bad people, basing it on how dark-skinned people are always violent, are always aggressive, are always ignorant. And that was something that I really did not appreciate. Now, regarding ableism, I know that Veronica Roth did an interview in which she discussed about how she had based Sierra's power on chronic pain because she had a couple of friends, I believe, with chronic pain. And this was also something that was discussed in the book and that I wanted to see for myself how it was. I don't have chronic pain, nor do I know someone who does. However, I am leaving a link for Shani Truth's article down below in which she describes about her experiences with chronic pain and her friends and how about everything about this book and the thing with the power was harmful. So I'm leaving the link down below, and I'm going to talk about it now. As we all know, ableism was also something that was discussed and that I wanted to see for myself how it was. And the thing is that we see in the book is that everybody, thanks to the current, has a sort of power or ability. In Sierra's case, who remember that Sierra is like the savage girl, she has the ability to feel constant pain and to make other people feel pain too, so she is used like an element of torture. The thing is that at the beginning of the book, I actually thought that Veronica was going to make something really cool with this, because we see how her mother is constantly trying to find like a solution for her daughter, and so they go to a doctor, and the doctor says like, well, you guys are like really violent people, so maybe like Sierra thinks that she deserves pain and that other people deserve pain, so that's why she has that gift. And the mother is like, you're a fucking idiot. I mean, my daughter doesn't want to feel pain. She doesn't want other people to feel pain. This is not her fault. This gift is not her fault. So this was something that I really liked, because maybe sometimes what I see with people with chronic pain or even with depression is that, oh, maybe people just want to feel that way. It's not a really big deal. But I thought that actually Veronica was going to do something great with that and show how Sierra actually didn't deserve that pain because she didn't want it, you know. But then as we go through the end of the book, we see how actually Sierra is talking to another person who has the gift of making other people feel actually good about themselves. So Sierra asks this woman how she feels or how she deals with the relationships in her life based on this power. And the woman goes like, well, I've always been this sort of person, like making other people feel good about themselves, so like this power comes from me, so my relationships haven't changed. And Sierra, she just like starts thinking and goes like, well, yeah, this is basically what the doctor told me, that the gifts came from myself, and so if I change, my power will change. And then we get to a part of the book where Sierra realizes that, oh shit, I think that I have been doing this to myself, you know, that I actually really want to feel pain, like I deserve to feel pain, and I believe that other people also deserve to feel pain. So if I stop thinking that, I will stop feeling this way. And she actually has like this sort of thing where she stops feeling pain. I mean, she can control her ability because she realized that she had been like a savage before, and now she's like, oh no, I don't want to hurt other people, I'm going to be good, I'm going to go with the peaceful ones and help them. And she just stops feeling pain because she becomes like this really good person who doesn't want to hurt people. And I'm like, what actual fuck? Seriously, like, so suddenly she realized that she doesn't want to feel pain, so it's like, oh no, I'm healed. What the fuck? Imagine going to someone with cancer and being like, you know what, dude? You don't need to have cancer. You actually don't. And the person with cancer just goes like, shit, dude, you're right, you know what? You're right. And then the person with cancer gets healed magically because they realize that they don't need to have cancer. Like, what in the actual hell was that? I remember that I was reading that and I couldn't believe that Roth actually thought that that was a good thing to write. And I can't believe that the editors and the beta readers and the publishers and all of that, they all thought that it was a good thing to publish. How could they? I just like, not only was it lazy, it was also so super dumb. Basically, this is what I wanted to talk about racism and ableism in the book. If I were to talk about the book as a whole, or even without those issues, I will still have given it 1 star because the writing was kind of lazy, same as the world building. There was no chemistry between the characters, there was no real character development, there was no sense for the romance, no sense for the plot. There wasn't really a plot to the story. I know that many people were saying like this is a character driven story. Actually, this is not a story driven by anything. This is kind of more like a mess. So even without those issues, I still wouldn't have liked. But this is basically all that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if you guys have any opinions, if you guys have read this. In any case, if you want to talk about it, you can leave a comment down below, or you can go to my blog or to my Goodreads. We have talked a lot about the book in Goodreads. So I'll see you guys on the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one.